This is Seasons of Discontent with your hosts Rick Snyder and Matt Combs.
Welcome to Seasons of Discontent, Season 11, Episode 23, brought to you by Rick Snyder's Washington on social media, and I'm Rick Snyder.
And I'm Matt.
And we're back discussing all things Washington sports and life. And you know, Matt, remember a few weeks ago, everybody said, you're going to have to change the name of your show. Yeah.
For a couple of weeks there, I crossed out the dis, and when I would post the video, it would say Seasons of Content. But now look, hey, Rick, my friends are back.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't last long around here. You know, Obi got hurt. That screwed the cap season up. And now we got this. You know, Washington Commanders have now lost 3 straight and went from 7-2, darlings of the league, to 7-5, and seriously may not be a playoff team. We're only doing one show this week because of Thanksgiving. So we always pick the game score as we start because none of you watched to the end. So I'm going to say Titans 30, Commanders 24. The misery continues.
A few weeks ago, this was a sure win. Titans went out yesterday and put a pretty good beat down on the Texans, who have a pretty decent defense and a really good offense. I can't pick them, though. Commanders 21, Titans 17.
All right. So let's regurgitate this last one. Dallas Cowboys, about a 50-50 crowd at what I think is becoming called Straight South Stadium because that's where the team is going, not Northwest. And it was a raucous crowd too because you had people on both sides. You know, it was like a bowl game, and what one side loved, the other side hated. There was a lot of anger in the stands, I think, overall, as a true Cowboys Commanders game would be. And, you know, it's 3-3 at half, and I'm thinking, oh, my God, what is going on? Washington's got great field position throughout the game. And then the fourth quarter, 41 points were scored. I don't know how many in the last 5 minutes. It was just sort of like, what the hell's going on? This is like, they're going to win? No. And then it's like, no, man, they're losing this game. Oh, wait a minute, there goes Terry. It's another miracle. Oh, he missed an extra point. I would have gone for 2 there, by the way. And
yeah, I think they would. They should have.
You were like having whiplash watching this game. It was so crazy. But I think Dallas just looked better. They played harder. And Washington's got, as Dan Quinn likes to say, another lesson that has to be learned. Well, how about passing a few tests first? Because, man, this was just a bad effort all the way around.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to kind of put this caveat in there real quick before I get going. I will say we're 7-5. So we are 12 games into a rebuild with a new owner, new GM, new coaching staff, 60% roster turnover, a rookie quarterback, for a team that was only supposed to win 6.5 games according to Las Vegas. This type of stuff, I feel like we were spoiled at the beginning. You know, a lot of people didn't know what Jaden Daniels could do. I feel like the 2 Giant games and the Steelers to an extent, but definitely the Philadelphia Eagles have kind of figured out what to do against this offensive line. Look, Rick, the issues that were band-aided during the win streak, you know, the poor offensive line, the bad, not being able to cover anybody. Now the defensive line all of a sudden is not tackling and not being able to stop the run. They're getting bullied at the line of scrimmage. We haven't had a pass rush all season. Those glaring issues that were kind of band-aided with the winning and with the offense that was clicking is kind of coming to light again. There is no true number 2 wide receiver on this team, and it's showing over the past couple weeks. I don't know what they've been drinking, but besides Terry, nobody can catch the ball, it seems. And now the injury bug is really catching up to him. You know, I know we're going to get into it, but Eckler's probably out for the season with a concussion. This is his second one this season. Brian Robinson was not healthy enough to be active for that game, and he went in and he got hurt again. So you're probably down two running backs. You can pick Chris Rodriguez back up, who you cut, but it's not like you're getting Lawrence, LT off the street, LaDainian Tomlinson, to come in here and carry the rock for you 100 times. But it sucks. Obviously, look, I'm going to say this: the bag people, it's more for entertainment purposes. I'm not as angry as I should be, because I do kind of have to look at the bigger picture. Adam Peters still has a lot of draft capital. We made a trade for a supposed top 10, top 15 corner who we haven't seen yet in Marshawn Lattimore. There's a lot of positives still with this team. I don't think Jaden Daniels is 100%. I don't care what Dan Quinn says. I don't care what Jaden Daniels says. There is something that is messing him up. I don't know if it's the pressure from the offensive line not being able to block, if it's the rib. I don't know what it is, but he is not 100%. But I'm going to look at the bigger picture, and I'm going to say Adam Peters still has a lot of draft capital. He still has a lot of moves to make in the offseason. They still have a lot of cap space. There may be another 30-40% roster turnover next year. We don't know.
Yeah, here's the thing. I reject everybody who says, well, it was supposed to be a rebuilding year. Well, maybe it was, but they were 7-2. When you're 7-2, you keep your foot on the gas. And unfortunately, they couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And disappointing on it. I don't care if they finished 9-8. Hey, that's a nice step forward. But to me, you're disappointed because you had it there for the taking and you couldn't pull it off. Okay, you lost the Steelers and Eagles, good teams. I'll give you that. This one was an inexcusable loss on that. They weren't ready. I tell you who was ready was Dallas's defense. They were ready for every single play. They had every time they threw the ball, there was a defender ready to go. And, Kingsbury definitely didn't do it. And here's the thing about Kingsbury, as I tell people. When I was in college, I had to take find a minor, 4 upper level classes to go with my major. And I thought, what sucker class can I take and get by easy? And I took sociology, which is basically the study of people. And what I learned, I didn't realize at the time, was I became really good at reading people. Okay, that's like my superpower because I can tell who's full of bull real quick and who's not. I'd say I'm only wrong once in a blue moon about people.
Well, how the hell have we been friends for almost 40 years?
See, there you go. So, I promised your parents. That would be nice.
Okay.
But the thing I'm making is I can read people. And when I met Kingsbury in the spring, I thought, really smart guy who's not really looking at me because he's too distracted and thinking about all the things. I like to say Dan Snyder, who never looked at me and was, he didn't even realize I was there. But Kingsbury, I could see a smart guy did. What I saw the other day when he's talking to the media and he was asked about the Kingsbury Cliff thing. Okay, nobody likes to be told you suck in the second half. But what I saw was a 1,000-mile stare. And that really concerned me because he looked dazed and confused, like he didn't know how to sidestep that question and get out of it. And that's what his offense looks like. They look dazed and confused. They're reading off of him and, the play calling hadn't been there. Where's the downfield? I mean, I get it. Noah Brown is kind of like flamed out. And you don't have another – I don't know what's up with Ertz. Yeah, he had 5 catches yesterday, but when, hardly ever was it a factor. They basically threw the backs and tight ends so much. You got to push that ball down the field more.
And that's been the MO, honestly, Rick. That's been the MO during this losing streak is if you go back to the first 2 games of the season against Tampa and the Giants, it was a lot of side-to-side passing, quick outs to running backs and tight ends. And then, like I talked about earlier this year, against the Bengals game, it was the Bengals game where all of a sudden it started out that same way. It was side-to-side horizontal passing. And then all of a sudden something clicked and they just decided to start throwing bombs and going vertical, and it worked. And it continued to work against the Cardinals, the Browns, the Panthers, the Giants again. It continued to work, but against these better defenses, and the Giants have a decent defense. I'm not going to discredit them. But against these better defenses where they're getting a better pass rush, I don't think that Kingsbury wants to put Daniels in a predicament where he can't set up to throw that deep ball. So he's thinking mentally, well, if we're not running it, we're gonna run with our passing game, basically. I mean, even the long score to Terry, what was that, like a 10-yard pass that Terry just took to the house?
Yeah, a little longer than that, but he split defenders and caught him, and then just the speed.
Yeah.
Terry's great after catch speed that people don't recognize so much because he's usually on the shorter passes, and anymore the quarterbacks just get him killed on the contact. But really, he can separate as well as anybody.
Mm-hmm.
That was an impressive run because he finally had some space on it. But yeah, I don't think Jaden Daniels is so much hurt anymore. I saw some nice runs, some nice plays that he did. I don't think that's quite the problem that it was earlier on this. The one thing about the 2 point when they were going to tie it up basically it was at 28 and they went for an extra point instead. But I thought, hey, the game's almost over. Why go into overtime? End it here because you have Jaden Daniels who can get outside most of the time on a 2 point conversion,
which he did earlier in the game.
Yeah, and I know against the Eagles he didn't. They got stopped on a 4th down, but that's where Kingsbury's one of those people I think who gets inside his own head too much and second guesses too much instead of just saying this is what we do well, do it until they make a stop.
But I also think that Dan Quinn knew his defense was gassed. We've seen this over the past couple weeks. This defense is pretty good in the first half, and they just after halftime they get gassed because the offense isn't producing. They're not moving the ball. They're not holding on to the ball. And that was a quick strike by Jaden to Terry that the defense probably got no rest. So I understand his mentality of trying to go for the tie over the win because if you're if you're unsuccessful on the 2 point try, then you're still playing from behind. Your defense has to go out there and make a stop. And I get it. They all look, they're all paid. They're all professionals. They all get paid a lot of money to do this. So they could probably get hyped up to do it. But that running back, I can't even tell you his name. He was eating them alive all game. It felt like he was getting 7 yards a pop. Even Ezekiel Elliott got a couple runs in there against him, which he's as washed up as anybody. It was just a bad. And then Rick, I think the bigger picture is this team cannot put all three facets of the game together at the same time. We saw flashes from the defense. We saw flashes from special teams. Offense came out flat. We would see flashes from the offense. Defense was giving up big plays. We saw boneheaded mistakes on special teams between the kicking game, the onside kick return for a touchdown. Like there was some dumb boneheaded mistakes by the special teams towards the end of the game, which at the beginning of the game, your special teams were your MVP.
Yeah, you block a punt, you block a kick, and I still gave him a Z- on grades because you also gave up 2 touchdowns when it really mattered at the end.
I think the way that they're being with Lattimore, where they can say, hey, look, you're playing for next season or you're playing for January football, hopefully if we're in there. I think they should have did the same thing with Seibert yesterday. They should have just ran Zane Gonzalez out there one more week, let Seibert get a little bit more practice, because I don't think he practiced on Tuesday, so let him get a little bit more practice, let him get a little bit more healed up with the hip. And I mean, Gonzalez was kicking pretty well. I know they like Seibert for his kickoff ability over Gonzalez, but Gonzalez was making kicks. You could have easily rolled out Gonzalez for one more week. But I think the bigger thing, honestly, Rick, is as banged up as Dallas is, and I think they had 4 or 5 starters out yesterday, not including Dak. They just came in here and they manhandled you. They made you look like fools.
Yeah, and the one part that's really hurt this team is time of possession. For the 3rd straight game, they were down 10 minutes on time of possession. That's a whole lot of time.
That's why I'm saying that the defense is getting gassed out. They don't have time to rest.
Yeah.
How many this team had maybe a handful of 3 and outs within the first 7 weeks. Now they've had the same amount of 3 and outs within the past 3 games.
Yeah. And then that goes to Kingsbury uncertain. Now, what happens is Robinson gets hurt on the first play. Okay. And ironically, Eckler gets hurt basically on the last play. Mm-hmm. I don't see either guy playing. Now, Eckler's definitely out until after the bye. And so is Andrew Wiley. He also has a concussion. So, and then the center wasn't on the mention today on the Health Watch on Monday, but Beatas is got a bad injury too. I don't know that he'll make it next week. And Brian Robinson is basically day to day, but I don't think he plays against Tennessee because he's been bothered by an ankle. He had to leave the game twice. So I think they probably give him off this one. So which means you're going with Jeremy McNichols, who has been a nice little spot back, but that's all you're gonna have to re-sign C-Rod, I guess, and we'll see. I don't even know if there's anybody else on the practice squad, but you're basically looking back to Daniels and saying, "You're up, dude. Go back into that Rookie of the Year race." And I didn't think he was as bad as it looked at times. I don't. And I think they need to play to his strengths. His receivers got to quit dropping balls. They got to stretch the field more. They got to kind of let it get loose again. And Quinn said this today, and it's an old excuse. He said basically, they're trying too hard. I don't know if there's such a thing, to be honest. I've heard coaches say that forever, and trying too hard is not a sin, in my opinion.
Hey, I tried really hard in high school and I still ended up with a C average, but I didn't get no brownie points for that one. But I get what you're saying. I honestly, Rick, I think the thing with Daniels that is most glaring is this guy was the most accurate passer through those first 7 or 8 games, and his accuracy, he was overthrowing guys, he's underthrowing guys can't catch the ball. He's throwing balls in the dirt. I mean, his accuracy, and I don't know if it has anything to do with the ribs or the muscle in the rib or whatever injury he has. Obviously, he's able to play. I get it. He's not that injured. But his accuracy, man, it's just one of his strong suits has just become such a glaring issue that I don't even know. Maybe he's in his own head. Who knows?
Yeah, I think the late buy is really hurting them. They've been gassed for 2 weeks now.
Yep.
And I think that plays a lot into these 3 losses.
And they've gone up against 3 or 4 defenses that are not afraid to punch you in the mouth. Let's be honest. The Steelers, even the Steelers, Philly. I mean, those Dallas especially. Those are teams that are not afraid to punch you in the mouth on defense, and they're definitely feeling it.
Yeah, so now they're going to have a bye after the Tennessee game, which gives you 4 games left. And but I don't know. I mean, they've got Atlanta, they've got another game against Dallas, they got to play Philly
and New Orleans.
Yeah, in New Orleans, that might be the win that you could get. I don't know where 7-5 ends up. Does it end up 9-8? You might be in the playoffs at 9-8. You got to win 2 games on there, and that might get you in. But
I'll say this: before the Dallas game, I penciled them in to win both Dallas games, the New Orleans game, and the Titans game. The only one that I'm pretty sure we are going to win is the Titans game.
I mean, you mean the Saints game?
No, the Titans.
Oh, okay.
I just think Will Levis is going to come back down to earth. They have a good run game. They have Tony Pollard. They got a pretty decent defense, but until yesterday, they'd only won 2 games. No, the Saints fired their head coach, and all of a sudden they got Derek Carr back and remembered how to play football.
Well, you always get a short-term boost from a mid-season firing. I've always noticed that because everybody suddenly realized they're playing for the jobs again.
Mm-hmm.
So that usually doesn't last more than 2 games on the NFL. But yeah, I mean, Quinn's always coming out there really trying hard. Well, okay, I'm glad to hear that because last year during that 8-game losing streak, they didn't try very hard, especially when it came back from the bye.
Yeah,
and they gassed that one and phoned it in. They're not going to. This staff's not going to let them do that, but I don't know. Kingsbury's got a history of bad second halves. I don't know the teams have figured them out, but boy, Dallas had them figured out.
Yeah. Which is surprising to me too. I'm really surprised at the way that our defense played against Dallas, considering Quinn and Joe Witt and all these guys that were on that Dallas staff last year, and not much has changed over there. I'm just surprised that they were able to, do what they did to us with all that knowledge on our sideline. Hey, I want to ask you something non-Commanders, but still NFC East related. Were you surprised by the Daniel Jones release?
Yeah, I was. I mean, to bench him and then make him 4th because you don't want him to get hurt, and then you have to pay millions out in an injury settlement. So that's been something in the last few years teams have started doing. And it was interesting is Jones went to them and said, "Release me then." And they could have said, "No, we don't want you to go play for somebody else like this." But they were like, "Listen, you've been a class guy and all, so we're going to let you do it because Jones wants to join a contender." And I think he can. He's better than a lot of people's number 2. So he probably, they're talking about Minnesota. I know is interested in him. Especially 10 teams are, but I know Minnesota would be looking at it.
Well, Vegas just lost Minshew. They'd already lost Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah, so I see that one happening.
think they were playing Spencer Rattler yesterday or some. I can't even remember who their quarterback was.
I love the name Spencer Rattler. He hadn't been that great a quarterback, but I love the name.
Yeah, no, I think he might play for New Orleans. I can't remember. They had somebody in there, but yeah, I mean, the Raiders are obviously not a contender, and realistically, I don't. Daniel Jones, he's not going to go to a contender and supplant a quarterback. Obviously, he's going to be a number two. I think what Daniel Jones needs to do, because like you said, he's not a bad quarterback. I mean, he's a middle of the road guy that was probably picked way too high and had too many expectations. I mean, look, we've talked about it in the past. It's hard to play quarterback in the number one market in the world. You know what I mean? You're playing quarterback. Look at Aaron Rodgers. You're playing quarterback in the number one market in the league, and you're getting pushed out too. Apparently, he wants to go. So
Well, they bring him to Washington. He plays great here.
who? Daniel Jones?
Yeah.
Yeah, he can definitely run against us. But
Oh,
that was very shocking to me. That is a top 10 first round pick, just a few years ago. And I always remember the debate was, does Washington go Jones or do they go Dwayne Haskins?
yeah, that worked. So the other hot rumor is Deion Sanders to Las Vegas, who would pick his son as their quarterback. I mean, I know Antonio Pierce from his days here. I like the guy, but no, he's not a head coach. So if Deion would go, Deion swears he's not leaving Colorado, but you know what? Lying's not a sin in the NFL. So people say whatever they want to say. And
I've
maybe
also heard Dion to the Cowboys.
I just don't see. I think Jerry's afraid of that kind of, publicity. That's why. I mean, otherwise you'd say, why don't you go with Belichick or whatever? The funny thing is, before this game,
Belichick wouldn't work for Jerry.
yeah, before this game, the rumor was Kingsbury might be the guy they're looking at. So I don't think so now. But Jerry,
Look, I'm going to say this. Before the beginning of the season, we were worried about Kingsbury and Joe Witt getting poached as head coaches in the offseason. I don't think we have anything to worry about either one of them yet.
yeah, I can see that. I mean,
I like Joe Witt. I think Joe Witt is a great leader of men. I don't think that Joe Witt has had a lot to play with right now, aside from Wagner, Chin, Luvu, guys like that. Now Marshawn Lattimore, we'll see what he is when he gets some pads on. But realistically, on that defense, I mean, you've got a bunch of young guys, who have flashed. Phil Mathis, Johnny Newton, guys like that. And then, Deron Payne, for while you're paying him, I love the guy, but he is a non-factor. They really have to. There's a lot more. There's a lot more needs on this team after week 12 than there were after week 7. I'll say that.
I have a lunch bet with Grant Paulson from 106.7 The Fan that I sit next to at games now. And I bet him before the season that Jamin Davis and Emmanuel Forbes would not be on this team by the end of the season. And Jamin's gone, and Emmanuel was inactive again against the Cowboys. So he's barely played in about 5-6 weeks. So I think he's the last man on the roster, and then he may get knocked out with injuries. They may cut him.
Yeah, he'll probably be the cut when they have to re-sign like Rodriguez, or they're probably gonna have to pick up another running back, whether they have one on the practice squad or they're gonna have to poach somebody. But yeah, I could see Emmanuel Forbes being that guy. He is just a non-factor in this defense, and they don't want anything to do with him.
Dude, I think for winning that bet in the preseason of saying your 2 number ones will be gone by the end of the year, that's the Palm. I'm taking him somewhere good. Not McDonald's. He's got to take me to the Palm for that pick.
Have him go down. Is Bobby Van still open? Former sponsor of...
Yeah.
Go down there and make him buy you a seafood tower.
There's a Cheesecake Factory a block away from Bobby Van's.
Oh.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know either.
I buy it all the time doing tour guiding, but I saw it the other day and thought, I'm not eating at Cheesecake Factory here. But Bobby Van's we've been to, and is a great steakhouse. And that's the thing with the new Republican administration coming in. They've done big studies that say the Republicans eat at steakhouses and the Democrats eat at all the shishi places. That's what they say. So Bobby Van's is going to be big again. Maybe we'll get him again as a sponsor one day.
I know we don't get political on this podcast very much, but it does pertain to the team. There was half of a leg was made last week with the RFK site.
Yeah. So they have until December 29th, I think, to do any legislation. It's passed the Senate subcommittee, which you could have done back in February, but people have just been sitting on it.
Well,
Well, now
it's also been that guy from Montana. Let's be honest.
he finally
Guy's so hung up on them using Redskins and the Native American imagery that he wouldn't accept it. But something I don't know if how true this is, and I'm sorry to cut you off. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit more. But something there has been some sort of headway made towards the NFL allowing the team to go back to the Native American logo. Now, I don't know. That probably has to do with us being able to wear a throwback helmet for 1 or 2 games a season, maybe even being allowed to sell the merchandise again with the Indian logo. But
he's talking, politicians talk about it. I ain't seen the NFL talk about it.
yeah, that's true. I haven't heard it. I'm waiting to hear from one person and one person only, and his name is Josh Harris. He owns the team.
Yeah, or Goodell. I need to hear Goodell say they're going to do it too.
Well, I don't know. Goodell.
The league decides on that. They have final say. But
yeah,
RFK now has to get approved by the full Senate, and I don't understand why the bill can't go up for a vote on its own.
No, they have to put it into another bill, don't they?
And that could be up or down with nothing in regard to RFK. That's they could stick it on a bill. It's just going to die. And so you have to start over again next year. There's going to be, a Republican president, Senate, and House. I have no idea how they feel. I don't think they got more than another year before Harris just says screw it and breaks ground in Landover. I can tell you they've raised ticket prices, and I heard about some things that aren't out there yet about how big some people's seats went up. And I was like, well, the guy paid $6 billion. Where do you think it's coming from? Well, just wait till the next stadium happens. Regular fans are not going to be able to afford to do this, which is why I want my taxpayer money out of this game if I can't go as a taxpayer and afford to go and, not pay $500.
Yeah, they're going to get them PSLs.
Tickets, yeah. I don't think there should be PSLs if there is tax money in this game, but we'll see. I mean, I don't know if DC can pull this off anyway because the city council, there's 13 people on the city council. They lost a couple yes votes to this in the election time. And I'm not sure how the council really wants to. They're not a big thing on this. The mayor can talk all she wants. The council decides the money. Somebody's going to have to be supportive of council members' re-election funds to make this happen. That's not a done deal either. So it's going to be still a while. I mean, I think I've spent half my career on this stupid stadium stories of all.
It's just so weird that stadium ground is owned by the federal government instead of the city that it's in. And I know we had talked before about a possible land swap. There's a building not far from Cap One Arena. I know that the government was looking at making a land swap with DC for. It's just there's too much red tape, and it's no wonder Jack went to Maryland.
Well, Jack went there because he had to basically go to Capitol Hill and kiss some rings and some butts.
And he's doing that.
He wouldn't do it. He just said, I'm not doing it. And that's why he took off. This is owned by the Department of Interior. And one of the senators who helped push the bill through has some problem. He voted against it in the end, but it passed anyway. He said, RFK site is the most valuable piece of land that the Department of Interior owns. I'm going to call BS on that right away.
Well, it's not because you haven't done anything with it in 20 years.
Well, but it's only one piece of land. Let's go see. The Interior owns, let's start with Yellowstone National Park.
Yeah.
How much is that? Or Yosemite. Or they own so much stuff. This is not the most valuable piece of land. But what they would do is let DC control it. DC would then lease it to whomever. And there are people who want it for other purposes. They don't care about football. It's going to be a fight no matter what on that. And that could take a while. But the politicians, man, you get stuck with these liars and they just say whatever. They just say whatever. They don't care. It drives me crazy talking to these people because they're full of BS on there. Just to say something like that was just total nonsense. But they're going to fight it out. But there's so much going on in the Hill right now with the new administration coming in and parties changing over, and Democrats are trying to force stuff through before the change, which happens every time you change. So I mean, there's a lot happening on all that. So
yeah, and we brought him up real quick. I know I read your article about Jack Kent Cook's daughter passed away.
Yeah, Jacqueline, and she was 36. Um, you know, Cook
Damn, she was younger than me.
think Cook had four wives, and I think this was number three, who he had a deal with, I think, written prenup about he didn't want any more children. Because at that point, Cook's in his 70s, and she got pregnant, and all of us were like, oh, Cook's having sex with somebody. I mean, that image was hard in your head. But okay. But he divorced her after 3 months of being married, so I guess he got it done on his honeymoon. Um, and Cook didn't acknowledge the girl till basically about the last year he was alive, and she was around 8. And I would see her at the park, riding the golf cart with dad, around. And
Grandpa.
he was kind of enjoying the moment finally of he didn't have any daughters. He had two
Right.
sons.
Right. He had two sons.
One of them had died already. So he was enjoying the last year. And then she basically got, a piece of the inheritance, and she lived in New York and Boston and kind of, partied at times. And there was no list cause of death. So I don't know. I've heard stories, but I'm not going to say them about whatever happened there. And she's being buried with her father just outside of Middleburg on there. So, I mean, it's a sad story at 36 on that. I was just,
I'll be honest with you. I didn't even know he had a daughter until I read your story about it.
yeah, I mean, I just remember seeing her for about a year there. I mean, I didn't talk to her. I don't talk to 8-year-olds.
Yeah, exactly. You want to
8-year-old
be
girl.
the old creepy man.
Yeah, I'd be arrested by the cops. What are you doing? I mean, the only 8-year-old girls I talked to are my two granddaughters.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah, that was crazy. All right, before we go, Thanksgiving's up. It's pumpkin pie. I don't care what anybody else says. It's pumpkin pie.
Ew.
What does it matter to you? I mean, I like apple too. I'll go apple. Sweet potato is like a cousin of sweet potato of apple pumpkin pie. What are you shaking at? What are you eating?
Oh, I can't stand pumpkin pie. It's disgusting.
You gotta go to Costco where you get one as big as my head, for $5, whatever it is.
No, I'll save the $5.
No, I'm on a quest to try and find a mincemeat pie before Christmas. There's actually one near where you work, I think. So I'll send you the spot. You can go get it.
Is it Best Buns down the street?
I don't know. I have to look it up, see what it was. But
There's a restaurant down the street called Best Buns. It's also a bakery.
I thought it was a strip joint. That's why.
No, that's Paper Moon.
Oh, all right. So so you're not going there. All right, turkey versus ham.
Oh, ham.
Why can't we eat both?
Yeah.
Just the thing. In my generation, as a kid, you didn't ever eat turkey. It just wasn't there. And
Yeah,
then,
we only ate it at Thanksgiving.
And I don't know if it's still. My dad worked the same company you did. He used to get a turkey back in the day. I don't know if they do that anymore. So I worked at the Washington Times. He used to give us turkey coupons, and I'd walk around with a bag saying, "We're giving this to the poor. Give me a bag." And I'm like, "No, it's mine." But turkey was like a once a year thing. Now you can eat turkey every day of the year.
Yeah, and that's the thing. For Thanksgiving, it's turkey. For Christmas, it's ham. Yes, the company used to give us turkeys. They used to give us hams for Christmas. But yeah, no, I'm not a big turkey guy. Honestly, I'll get some because I cook it. So, I gotta have some because I cook it, I make it all fancy. I don't cook it in the oven. But yeah, I mean, I like turkey. I'm a mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes, green beans. I'm a sides guy on Thanksgiving. I love sides.
Yeah.
And no pumpkin pie. Ugh.
Right.
Throw that out a window.
So do you go stuffed ham of Southern Maryland or Virginia ham, which is so salty it's like a salt lick? I can't.
No, I don't need a deer salt lick. No, give me the stuffed ham. Ugh.
Yeah, I don't know what Virginia's doing. I guess they did trying to preserve it for the next century, like Georgia.
It's a hand, doesn't it hang from a rafter for like a year?
Oh yeah, yeah. And if you go to George Washington's Mount Vernon, they have a smokehouse there near the house. And I have to teach people what that is. They have no idea, especially city folk have no idea what that is. But they would preserve meats for months. I mean, you could do it and that's what I think this Virginia ham is. Nothing personal, but it's too salty for me.
Oh, God, yes, it's terrible.
It's like eating hardtack or something. So stuffed ham is in Southern Maryland. Google it. For those of you out there who don't know, you can go to Chapco and get some at that place. Get the fried chicken while you're there. But yeah,
I'll be honest with you, Rick. I'm not even an apple pie guy.
Wow, you're disappointing me. Which pie?
I like there's a cherry crumb pie. So it's like cherries with like bits of stuff on top. It's delicious. Also, Marie Callender's makes a very good chocolate silk pie, which is delicious.
Yeah, is that really a pie though?
No, it's just pudding in a pie crust
Yeah. Okay.
with a little whipped cream on top, but it's freaking delicious.
All right. Now I'm not a cherry pie guy. I'm not a rhubarb pie. But it's like what?
No, my number one seed is blueberry cobbler.
And then people talk about, oh no, it's pecan pie. Like, no.
Yeah. The only pecans I'm having during Thanksgiving are on top of my sweet potatoes.
Man, and no wonder we can't get along in this country. Everybody's fighting over food, but
Let's be honest, pie is like number 3 or 4 on the depth chart of desserts. Okay. You got your cakes, you got your cookies, you got your brownies, and then maybe your pies.
Well, I mean, I'll go.
Take this from a fat guy.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm the leaner of the two of us now.
Exactly.
I hate to think that's true, but
I don't think it is. I think we're probably about the same.
we're getting closer though. You're going up.
I know. Hey, the more and more I sit on my butt all day at work.
For all of you out there who are diabetics, screw Ozempic. I got off that. I had big problems, but I started a new drug called Mounjaro, and it's made a world of difference. So if you're a diabetic out there having problems, Mounjaro, Mounjaro, total changer for me. I really, after a year of problems, I'm on that bandwagon. So that's my health tip of the day of how I'm still here. All right. Well, we've talked on forever. We did 2 shows just in one. So,
there you go.
all right. I'm Rick Snyder.
And I'm Matt. Everybody have a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah. And I'm on Blue Sky now. So if you want to, go look for me there. It's RS Washington. I don't know if anybody is or not, but
what the hell's a Blue Sky?
Yeah. Instagram too. I'm doing some of that. Tried TikTok. Couldn't figure it out now.
That's because you don't know how to do the dances.
I know. I tried. So
you gotta get your grandkids to show you how to do the TikTok dances so you can go viral.
Oh, I also saw Gladiator. Good, not great. Didn't get to see the Wicked thing with my grandkids. I had to go to the game and watch a Wicked effort. But there you go. But if you want to see Gladiator, I know this is a crazy thing for me to say, but they spend too much time in the arena killing each other. And I know it's hard to believe. My wife didn't believe me, but yeah.
I'll be honest with you. Some of these movies they've been coming out with lately, hey, the Crow reboot was awful. Just some of these sequels, I haven't even watched Beetlejuice. I heard it was kind of meh compared to the first one. I just don't understand. Hollywood's run out of ideas.
I saw Red One. That was actually with The Rock. Was kind of funny. That was decent.
I heard that movie is awful. It made $36 million. It cost $300 to make.
What, Red One?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a bomb.
When you talk about no new ideas, there's a book out now called Toto, which is about a Wizard of Oz thing, the dog.
About the dog?
Yeah. It's a story from the dog's view of all this. So wait till that comes. They've already made Wicked 2. It's in the can. And then Toto, I think, will be the next one out. So no idea how that's going to go. He doesn't tell us. But the little nugget they will tell is that in the Wizard of Oz filming, the Munchkins each got $50 a week, but Toto got 125. How'd that?
Okay.
Well, there were lots of Munchkins, but only one dog.
That's true.
All right. I guess we've talked about everything now. Anyway, here's my bell again. Rick Snyder, I'm out of here.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Seasons of Discontent with your hosts, Rick Snyder and Matt Combs.